James Ball, are you there now?
Yeah, I'm here, mate.
Great. Benny, welcome, mate. I'm going to go straight over to James Ball now. James, do you want to
Hi,
jump
James.
on the screen, mate?
This one, am I on mute here?
Just the video to the right hand side. There you go.
Just can't. Now we can. We're good.
Hi, mate.
Good. Thanks, mate. How you going?
Yeah, well, you?
Good, mate. You had a few difficulties logging in, mate.
I can't really, just 1 second. I just can't hear. You there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. You had a few difficulties logging in.
Mate, I'm not that good, with tech and whatever else. Had one of my guys handle it for me, but I'm not that good.
All right. Well, you're here now, mate. Welcome.
Thank you.
We just started. We've done one agent intro.
Yep.
As a group, we've got 14 agents with us. Welcome. A lot of you would know James. I've been working with James for about 4 years now. He's been one of the bigger improvers in the Sydney market. James, how old are you, mate?
33.
33 years old. James, when I first started with James in 2020, he had done 36 deals. James will go, hoping you'll hit 100 deals this year, James. What do you think?
Yeah, we're on track at the moment. Yeah, I think we're sitting on about 37 or 38 at the moment. Should hit 40 today.
Good. So 40 deals. Team of?
I've got a team of sort of 5 to 6, sort of 6, around 6, sort of sits around 6.
Right. Now, a lot of the guys would have heard your interview with me 4 months ago. Okay.
Yep.
So, big performer. I think you've done almost you would have done over 2 million fees already.
We're sitting about 2 million now.
So 2 million in 3.5 months. Big improver. 36 to 60 deals to 70 deals to 70 deals again to probably 100 this year.
Yeah.
Really committed. Good lifestyle. But we're going to talk to James now. So I'll ask the questions. And certainly if there's any questions as we go, by all means, you can jot them down for me. How do you find the market this year, James?
I thought it was really good at the start of the year. I think there was a lot of pent-up demand. I'm finding it's starting to get probably a little bit tricky at the moment. I think the time of the year, I think, is also sort of adding to that, sort of this disruption around sort of April and Easter and the school holidays. I think a lot of people are probably sitting out of the market thinking that there's going to be an influx of supply sort of hit the market in May, which I don't actually think there will be. Like, I think talking to some of the stronger agents in our market, I think there's a lot of people struggling for stock. We're struggling for stock coming into May. We've got a fair bit online at the moment. We've got about 20 listings online at the moment, but which is solid for us. But we're sort of struggling with sort of incoming stock for May. So I don't know. I'm finding it a little bit tricky. Like, we're trying to put 2 or 3 deals together today. 2 of those properties have been on the market probably since the back end of January, early February. We had a couple of false starts. We had strong offers early in the campaign. Because it was the start of the year, I probably wasn't managing my vendors as well as I probably should have been. But they're sort of coming together. So I think the penny drops, I think, for a lot of the properties that we've got, but I think it's starting to get a little bit tricky.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, that's probably so. To these guys who have sold between 2 properties and 20,
Yeah.
what would your advice be to them if they've sold? Because there was a time a few years ago where you would have 3.5 months in done 8 deals, 10 deals, 15 deals. What's your advice to them? Should they be spending their time? And if they're having troubles putting some deals together, as you are, how should they be handled in your view?
I think it's just getting back to basics. So also not thinking about sort of this month or next month, but I think also just continually looking at sort of what's ahead and sort of the next 12 months, next 5 years, next 10 years. Like we haven't had a great month. I think we sold 4 so far this month. Like, we'll probably hit 6 or 7 today. So like even last night, I caught myself getting caught up with like what other people are doing, like looking at other people's sort of REA profiles, like my competitors, seeing where they are. So like still having the same, mental box as everyone else. But I also think just like I just thought about last night, just get back to basics. Like, stop overthinking it, go home, switch off, come back in the morning, get back to the basics, try to progress people, talk to the best buyers, try to progress deals.
So you're saying that you're pretty much sitting on $2 million and you still get caught up on what other people are doing?
Yeah, I was talking to Maclay yesterday, like we had an open together in Bondi, and we're both talking exactly the same thing. Like we're both getting caught up on what other people in the market are doing, and sort of like, like I think we probably wanted to be on about 6 or 7 by this time this month. We're on, I think, 4. So like,
I just want to stop you there because to the group that we've been going for 15 minutes. If that's not the most powerful thing you hear in the whole thing, that could be the best thing you hear all year. So if you're sitting in your office going, oh shit, this person's done that, this person's done that, these guys at the highest level also think that. They also think that. So that for me is gold. Because if you've done one sale this year or you've done 35, 40 that James has, those thoughts are perfectly normal and they're perfectly common. So don't beat yourselves up about that. That's gold. Thanks, my man. Can we go back for these guys? People get like, I had people ring me going, mate, how's James doing this? How's James doing this? Would you say that a lot of what you're doing now is a result of the last several years, or is it
everything
really good in the last 2 years?
Everything. Like I think I've managed to probably execute, like I'm executing now a lot better. Like the things that we're putting together now, maybe with only one buyer, or the price point at which we're sort of consistently executing in, I probably wasn't doing as well, probably 2 to 3 years ago. So I think that part of my business has gotten a lot better. So I think that's something that's improved, and I hope will continue to improve. But I think everything else, and I think the listing levels, the number of transactions, I think comes back to everything we're doing the last 10 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think I think like I said last time in the last interview that I did with you, and like, I used to meet with Jason Boone and I used to train with him, surf with him. And he always used to talk about just building profile, just build profile, send letters, door knock, create a database in a couple of areas that you want to work in. And then it sort of spreads from there. And so I think like we just did that. And I think now, like I was talking about this to somebody yesterday, actually, that wants to come and work in the business. And I said, I've probably got a better quality of life now than I've had in probably 10 years. I've been in real estate probably for 10 years. Like I'm getting the office slightly later. When I say slightly, like 15 minutes later, I normally getting at 7, probably getting at 7:15, 7:30. I go home 5:30, 5:45, or, take my dog for a walk, have a swim, whatever. And then I get back to doing a little bit just, from 7 o'clock or 7:30. But I think you can only do that if you put in the work. And I'm still working extremely hard. Like when I'm here, I'm not stuffing around. I'm not talking in the kitchen. I'm just sort of getting in and doing what I need to do. But I think that is a result of like the work that we did for, 5 to 10 years. Like I was talking to my team about it yesterday, actually, because they're getting in at like 7:30, but leaving at 5:30. And I said, like, so if you want to get to the right sort of level, they're looking at me do that now. But probably for 8 years, I was in the office at 7 o'clock every morning, or 10 to 7 every morning. And I was out of the office at 7:30 every night, and working all day on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah. So that journey for you, you said in the last interview, which I'll just refresh, or I'll remind everybody, that for the first few years, you were just scrounging around getting listings anywhere, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Had no real process, no real strategy, and you were just chasing things down wherever you could. But as time went on, you got sharper. How many suburbs would you sell across?
I reckon like there'd have to be at least 10, I reckon, 10 to 12, maybe more, I reckon. But we're really strong probably in about 7 or 8, but then that sort of filters into other areas as well.
Yes. Yeah. Tell us about your database, because that's one I think is important. How's that grown and how do you manage it?
We just continue to build it because I think we're touching people passively within our database as well. So like obviously you can't, like I couldn't tell you how many people are in our database, but like we've made a big effort, conscious effort to get better at open homes this year, and find out addresses, find out where people live, and then actually maintain that relationship or connection. It doesn't have to be aggressively or super proactively, calling people every 6 months, hey, do you want to sell? How do you want to sell? But more just like trying to create that profile within that specific part of the market. So I think like our profile's getting bigger each week. The more properties we have, the more people that we meet, the more addresses that go in our database, the more numbers we get, the more emails we get. They're getting tapped with our monthly report, our just listed, our just solds, our text messages, our calls. We send a letter to, I think probably 8 suburbs or 9 suburbs every month with our monthly results on it and what we've got listed for the month moving forward. So that's probably going to that's only going to our database. It's not going to the actual suburb, but to the homeowners within that suburb. So that's probably going to about 5,000 people. That's probably costing me somewhere 9 to 10 grand a month just to do that. But I see it as a worthwhile investment because it's a really good way to touch 5,000 people a month with our results so that people are aware, even if they're not looking, that we're very active in that part of the market.
Yeah. Guys, I'm just opening up the chat box. So if you've got any questions for James as we go, let me know. Hey, mate, tell me about your, with the listings. If someone just wants an appraisal, but they have no intention of selling, and this is just a general question, do you go?
I think it depends on what time, I think the time of the year for me is really important. I think time management's probably my biggest thing and the thing that I find hardest to manage. I think maintaining that quality of life, like we've spoken about, and creating longevity. I don't want to quit real estate in 5 years because I'm burnt out. I want to ensure I'm doing this for a long time. You know what I mean? So I think, look, November, December, no way. I'd send one of my team. January, February, probably not. Now, yes. I've probably done, I don't know, in the last 2 weeks, probably done 25 appraisals, which have been more like market appraisals because we're trying to progress a lot of those, potential vendors. But I think it depends on the time. I also want to create and build up my team. And I think the only way to build up my team is to get them to do it themselves. And I think they can obviously come back to me and ask me on the right way forward. But I think if I'm controlling every market appraisal, every listing appointment, every appointment that they do, then they're never going to build themselves up to a point where I can, get the most out of them, sort of thing. So I think time of year is really important, but I'd say I'm probably going to, 50% of the market appraisals that we're doing as a team, or 40%, I reckon.
Yeah, good. Just a couple of quick ones. If you went back to when you were a standalone agent and you had no assistant or just a PA, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So say go back to the James Ball who did 25 sales with an assistant, right?
Yes.
What would a typical day look like for you back then? What would you do back then?
I actually thought about this the other day. I had no idea what I was doing. I was thinking about this. I was actually in our sales meeting on Tuesday. I brought up my first ever sale was a house in Dover Heights. Probably 10 years ago, I think we sold for 5 million. So today it's probably worth 12. So it's a big sale. And I was just thinking to myself, I said in our sales meeting, I cannot believe those people entrusted that sale to me. It was an expired listing. I had no idea what I was doing. I remember being at the auction. I was so nervous, my hands were shaking. I had no idea what I was doing. So I look at the guys in my team that are 23, 24, 25 and go they were way ahead of where I was, way ahead of where I was at that age.
And they're getting good training.
Yeah, well, I think the one thing that I did really well, I made it a really big focus to create profile in 2 specific markets. For me, that was originally Kensington and Coogee. Kensington, it sort of fell into our lap. Coogee was a little bit more by choice because I'd grown up in Baroobra and sort of was involved in the beach and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But then I sort of built profile, and then from that, I created profile in the surrounding markets. So I think I was always very big on that, just touching, creating those touch points with the people that owned in the area. I think I did a huge amount of buyer work back then, and just trying to create those relationships with the people that I was even if it wasn't my property, I would take them to the property. I'm now selling for those people today. And expired listings. Expired listings was a huge lead source. For our team, it's something I'm driving home really hard with particularly the younger guys within the team with less experience. They're not quite getting that at the moment. I think we've only sold probably 2 expired listings this year, which is pretty disappointing. But I think for me, it was buyer work, expired listings, and just trying to create profile in those markets.
Yeah. Cool. I think creating profile comes from consistent sales and listing in a certain area for a long time. But you're saying that you went Kensington, Kingsford, and just tried staying in the same market. and really
Yeah,
smashed
Kensington
that.
Coogee. Yeah, and then it sort of then we sold one property in Clovelly, and then that led to the next thing, and then so we built up profile in there, and then that we sold a few in Bronte, and we created profile there. So it just was that sort of flow-on effect, really.
Yeah. What I'm taking from this, guys, Project Far, I'm taking from this that it's a slow burn, but it's a quick burn. It's a 7 to 10 year thing. He's been consistently growing and staying with it, which is half the battle. James talks about increasing his profile. I think that's come as a result of he's had a lot of sales over a long time. And so that the whole thing just builds. Couple of questions from the guys, James, if we could. How many types of touch points do you send after each campaign? And are you doing these after sales and listings or for other information?
When you say touch points, you meaning like sort of like street area?
Yeah, I think that's what Christian's asking.
Yeah, so sorry to interrupt. Yeah, what I meant by that is, so say after any listing or sale, for example, types of touch points. So you're obviously calling the street. From there, you know, you're texting similar properties. Are you dropping to just that street or dropping to the suburb? Are you basically all types of touch points you're doing after a listing or a sale?
Like, if I'm being honest, like we've streamlined it so well within the team now. Like I actually don't know every touch point. Like I've got the team, so I've got an EA, I've got almost like 2 EAs like working within our team. And like we've streamlined it so well that after every sale, there's just a process that takes place that we just work through. I think for me personally, it's probably
what would be the most important if you're a standalone agent and you don't have a team? If I listed a property at 2 Smith Street, Coogee, what would you suggest I do?
got to call the street, call the area, text the whole suburb, send a letter after. Or pipeline. Like for me, like my chase list right now is my most important thing. So I just have my chase list on my phone because I'm out of the office so much. Like I've gone from being in the office probably 3 days a week to probably only getting 1 day a week in the office. Like on a Monday, I'll just come in casual clothes and just sit in my office for 9 hours and just make calls. And I won't leave the office. I won't do meetings. Like we've spoken about that, Ivan, like just to sort of set myself up for the week. But I think for me, my chase list right now is probably my biggest thing, and just trying to create the social proof to people. Like we might sell a property in South Coogee, but making that relevant to people that are on our chase list in Bronte. So for me, that's probably the number one thing. And I think for anybody should probably be the number one thing. I also think like if you're in the building phase of your career, which I still think that we are, I think just, being really consistent around the calls of the street, to the area, anyone you've appraised, like that's probably a really big lead source for me. Anyone I've appraised in the last 3 years, if I've sold a property, I'll get my appraisal spreadsheet up, like Excel spreadsheet up, and I'll look at anybody that's I've appraised in that street or in the area that I can be relevant to. And it might even just be a text message because we're selling obviously, 2 or 3 properties a week. We're not picking up the phone and calling our chase list or our prospective vendors on every one of these properties. It might be on a Friday, we might sell 3 properties that week. We'll send them a text message with all 3 sales.
Yeah. So just so Christian and to everybody, my view on top of James's is you list something, street, pipeline, hot buyers, suburb.
I don't think there's enough touch. I think you just got to in any way that you can. You should just be thinking like I would like Christian. I'd be thinking like call the street, text the area, send a letter, send a letter once it's sold, dawn off the people that you don't have in your database, get them in your database. Like I think the reality is like, look, I've never dawn off, but I've had people in the team that have done it for me, which I actually think is really important. I'm quite introverted, so I don't actually like standing in front of people when I don't know them, sort of thing. But I think that's really important to get that, to get the data into your database, and then from there, then you work the relationship.
Thanks, mate. Maddie Bell, do you want to ask James a question yourself?
Sorry, thanks, Ivan. Hey, James. Yep. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. All right, perfect. My question, James, was just around your monthly report. So is that just hard copy or is that an email as well?
We send an email. We send an email to everyone in our database, no matter who they are, buyer or seller. So I couldn't even tell you how many it goes out to. Like Ivan, if you want to share it, you're more than welcome to share it. It's essentially just like our thoughts on the market. I'm actually trying to get my team to sort of draft it now to get them in the headspace of, thinking and talking like that in the right way. And then it will essentially just say, this is our view for the month. All we're trying to do is essentially just create that sort of level of profile. We send to our monthly sales stats. So like we might have sold, 15 properties for a total sales volume of X. And this is what we've got listed for this month. And, just really simple. Probably takes us like 15, 20 minutes to put together, me to put together, and then Finn and Nikita will handle it. But it's really simple. Like it's nothing like Ivan, you've seen it. Like it's pretty simple. It's not complicated. I don't talk about the market as a whole, and these are the clearance rates across, New South Wales. I make it more specific to the eastern suburbs, which is our market. And these are the most relevant sales and most relevant listings moving forward.
Yeah. So just further to James, Matty, when I started with James, he didn't actually communicate his database at all. And so we said, we've got to start emailing your contacts. So that's been going out now. James also, the company changed names. It rebranded from Ballard to Sotheby's. And so it's got a wider range. It's got a wider audience now. But for everybody on this, like you all get my email every weekend. That's my newsletter. You need to have your own that goes out to your database. James's has just gotten better and better and better and better and better and better. And he's just sharpened the sword with his team, with his monthly newsletter. I don't even think what you put in the newsletter is that important. I think there can be too much real estate jargon, but it's about the consistency. I get James's, bang. First day of the month, bang. And sometimes I get people on 9th of the month. It's too late. Or they do it one month and then they don't do it the next. So I think James is really consistent with it. Adrian Oddie's got a great one too. I usually refer people to Adrian Oddie's and James Ball's, because Ball's got a great one that's monthly. Oddie does one on a Friday night in Balmain, Matty, which has all the it has the summary of the week, what Bressic Woody sold that week, and what auctions are on the next day. And then Oddie's team will send one out the same email the next day with all the auction results, which is really strong. I had a question, James.
Wow.
I'm not sure who answered it. Thanks, Matty. What's the main thing that took you from 2 to 3? You're right, mate. Just so everybody knows, James's com went from 1. You don't mind me sharing this, James?
No, you're right.
James's GCI went 1.8, 2.4, 2.8, 3.2, I think, James. This year could be 4 million plus. So it's not like he's gone 1.8 to 3.5 to 5. Okay. He probably messed around for years at 200, 300 grand and 5 and then broke a mill. And then when I started working with him, he was starting to already get momentum. It wasn't what I did with him. He was already on the way up. I just got lucky that I got to jump in with him halfway up the mountain. And so then at that point, he did 1.8 and then early 2s and then 2.8 and then last year 3.2. This year, he's already done 2 million in 3 months. So why am I sharing that? Because the growth hasn't, you hear people say, oh, you can double your income, you can triple your income. No, like once you get to a certain point, no, that's not possible. But
I think what we did, we were really consistent. So like it was interesting because I thought I think it was actually we did about $1 million for 3 years straight, or like between 1 and 1.2 for 3 years straight. And I couldn't just break through that. And it just felt like I was just same amount of deals, didn't increase volume, it just kept consistent. Then after that 3 years, I went from 1.2 to 3 million. And then I stuck at 3 million for 3 years. I just couldn't get any, it was like 2.93 back to 2.950 or something like that. Then last year we did 3.7, and that was the first year where I felt like things are just starting to get easier and changed. And then this year we should beat that by a fair way. But I think it actually takes a time, for me personally, it took a long period of time at a certain level before I then saw an extra year of growth. And then it took me about 3 years both times to actually see serious growth in those 2 periods.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Who's that? Kev?
Yeah. What was the bottleneck there? What do you think held you back at those numbers for a couple of years instead of having the growth year on year? What do you think the bottleneck was? And do you think you could have done things differently this time? Or
I had Alex Phillips. I had Alex Phillips as the #1 agent in the market for, in about 5 or 6 of my suburbs or 7 of my suburbs. It was just a freak of nature. And so I think,
there was
he
made you better.
He's made me a lot better. I was very fortunate. Look, I think I've been really fortunate to be able to work with like some incredible agents. Like, and I think if you ever get the opportunity to work with people that are better than you in your marketplace, I just think it's a no-brainer. Like I see people go, no, we're not going to do conjunctions. I think you're an idiot if you don't do conjunctions, because I don't think you can actually get better without doing it. I've been fortunate enough to work with Alex probably 25, 30 times over the last few years, and it's made me 10 times better, more, 100 times. Like I've been fortunate enough to work with Ben Collier, McClay, like, and I just trying to take the best of everyone and then sort of filter it back to the way I work. Like I don't necessarily want what they all have, but like I think just trying to filter it and make yourself better through that process. I think in terms of bottleneck, I think looking back on it, I don't necessarily think it was a bottleneck. I just think it was time. I think you want everything quicker than what you think you can get it. And I think for me, like, like I'd be really happy. I initially wanted to write $4 million this year. We've reset the goal for 5 million, but like at the end of the day, between 4 to 5 million, but it is what it is. And I know if I continue to do the right thing by people and, be consistent to who I am as a person agent, like it will just come. Like, and I think you only sort of figure that out as you probably mature. And I think, like I'm starting to mature quicker than what I did probably in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
And I also think like Ivan's been very strong with me on lifestyle. I didn't have a great lifestyle, as you know, Ivan. Like I used to just go out a lot and all that sort of thing. And I think in the last probably 18 months to 2 years, and I never thought that would really impact my business. But I think looking back on what I was doing and what I'm doing now, I think that had a huge impact.
Yeah. Yeah, you've done really well, mate. You have.
Can I ask a question if that's all right?
Yeah.
I don't mean
Go,
to.
yeah.
James, back on that question, if you are, and you mentioned it before, a lot of it's headspace and comparing yourself with others, but if you are hovering in that, mid ones sort of, do you think it was a lot of it just doing the right things and being organic, which got you to the 2, 3, 4 million?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was very organic growth. I think like I worked very hard for a long period of time. I think we were extremely consistent. Like as Ivan will say, like I was at I just did the same thing every single day. Like it was boring and repetitive, but like I didn't change anything. I came in, made the same amount of calls. Like I see guys in my team go from doing 200 calls a day to doing 50 calls the next day. Like we just were always consistent. We're pumping out 100 to 150 calls every day. And I did that just over a long period of time, but I think I also did it in the right way. And I layered that prospecting that allowed, and I think, look, also we were fortunate that we were working at a price point that, my average sale price has always been high. I think it started, I think like even when I was like 24, 25, my average sale price was sitting above 3 million. So like it's now probably sitting at 5.5 to 6. So like, I think we were fortunate that we had a high average sale price, and that created a bit more organic growth because we would go from selling, a person's home for 3 million 4 years ago, it's now worth 5. The person that we sold for 5 3 years ago, it's now worth 8. And so it just became a little bit easier to help underpin that growth, I think, as well. But I think like if you're doing this, I think if you're consistent and you want it and you do, I think for us, we're getting a lot of business now off the back of doing the right thing by people. I think like I've made it very clear with my team, like I think you're in this for a long time. People have long memories. You've got to do the right thing by people. So we've got getting business where people use other agents in our market 5 years ago, they're now coming back to us. So I think if you just do the right thing and keep consistent, even as you get busier and, you feel more important, I think the business will come back to you.
Yeah. I met Ballsy, Benny, 15 years ago. And he was a young, maybe 12 years ago, mate. Actually, he was early 20s for sure. Maybe 10 years ago. Remember when we met at Tamarama, Paulie? I was looking at a house and you were there. You remember that?
No.
No, I do.
The apartment?
No, it was a house for sale. And you're in a Range Rover.
Oh, Wallaroo Crescent, I remember. Yeah.
But my point is, he always seemed, James has got good values because he talks about just doing the right thing. But he was like that when he was in his early 20s, probably earning 150, 200 grand a year. So he was young then and had the same values that he does today. Doesn't bullshit, works hard, rolls his sleeves up, which a lot of you have similar traits and similar character, traits. But he stuck with it, is what I see. Tell me about, if you lose a listing, just for the group, mate, you've lost listings your whole way through. What's your best advice for us if you lose a listing this afternoon?
I was speaking to Nick Wise about this the other day, who's now come on as a business partner with me. I think, look, you're obviously disappointed, but I think you just got to be gracious and move on. I think the more listings you lose, I think the more you just get used to it. And I think, like, you know, like I've probably lost, like I just saw one come online. One I lost like probably like 3 weeks ago that I was telling Ivan about, and I can't believe the agent that came online with. But like, you just move on, and like I think you just learn to move on. You're gracious, send them a text, you know, disappointed, but thank you for the opportunity. I'll keep a close eye on it, and if I can help out in the future, let me know. Not like, I know in my market at the moment, not everything is selling. Like, so I think just because you've got a listing, and like I've got 20 listings online, I reckon 7 or 8 of them have been online for a long period of time. So like, think like there's a big chance that that listing could come back to you if you've done the right thing there. People remember it.
Do you get much leakage on that point? Do you get much leakage through like houses that you've appraised before, or they're on your database, or they're on your pipeline, and you just miss it, and then it's listed with someone else? Do you see much leakage, or did you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, look, I think probably starting to see it more so, and this is probably something that I've been speaking to you about a lot recently, like, because I think it hurts my headspace. Like when I see, like, you know, 3, 4, 5 years ago, I knew of everything, like everything that was on my chase list. I knew it was coming on. We were getting an opportunity, but it was just because we had less volume. Now I'm seeing a lot of properties that I've appraised, or, you know the owner or whatever, or, you know, a $14.5 million house in Maruba sell the other day, through a good, you know, really good young agent. I had the buyer and something else. I would have listed that house for sale, and I didn't just put 2 and 2 together. So you miss out on a 200 grand fee, but look, it is what it is. Like, it's sort of like, you know, I think that got me down for a couple of hours, but I think it just moved on.
Yeah. Goals, mate. We've probably got another 5 minutes with James. Is just a thumbs up if you're enjoying this? If everyone's enjoying that, yep, everyone's thumbs up. Good. Jimbo, goals. How important are they? And you know, were they always important? Are they important now? Do you review them? And do you want to just share what you do there with everybody?
Yeah, I think they're very important. Like, I, you know, have them at home, have them in my office. I think they're really important for me personally. Like, I'm goal driven. I think it's also important. Like, you don't want to get deflated if you're not where you are. Like, you know, like I think you just got to. I think what I've figured out, like, and I haven't actually spoken to you about this, Simon, but like I got my goals for the year, which are like my personal goals, my health goals. Like, my biggest goal this year was better sleep. I've never been a good sleeper. Starting to sleep a lot better. But I think, like, my real estate goals, I'm essentially reviewing every quarter. And I go, okay, this is how many deals I want to do this quarter. Because I think, like, if I go, okay, I want to do 100 or 110 deals this year, it looks like a really big amount. Where if I go, okay, I'm on, let's say 40 sales after today, and I want to get to 55 by the end of the quarter, then it's not as big like it's 15 sales away. So 15 sales in 10 weeks before I go away. So I think you just got to, I think they're really important, but I also think, like, I've been so goal driven in the past that if I don't get to something, it actually makes me unhappy. And like, so I go, okay, if I didn't hit 3 million, but I remember I hit 2,950 one year, and I wanted to hit 3 million. And for like 3 days, I was like, in my own head, all I need was another 50 grand. Whereas, like, what difference does that actually make?
Yeah, that's good, mate. Thanks for your authenticity around that stuff. You're saying with goals, they are important. You find if you look at them quarterly, they're bite-sized chunks, so you don't get too overwhelmed, and you can sort of increase, decrease them, but they're very important and they're visible to you at home and at work. Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
Last one, mate, from me. If anyone else has got anything, now's the time. If I was earning 300 grand a year, or 500 grand a year, or 700 grand a year, and I had no assistant, or I had one assistant, what's your advice to me about taking breaks, taking holidays, and whatever, or should I just smash it all the way through?
No, like I was saying to a guy in my office, like, you know, Ivan, who that is, and he just never, I don't think he took one holiday last year. Like, I think he just literally worked from January through to December. I think he might have had like a couple of public holidays off, but didn't go away. And like, you could see by the end of the year, he was completely burnt out. And I said, mate, you have to relax. Like, you're doing this for like 28 years old, 29 years old. You're doing this for a really long time. I think real estate is, what's the word? I was talking about this to someone the other day. I think it's a very strange industry, because you can be 30 years old making 500 grand a year. It's not many people making like came from environment. My mum's a preschool teacher, my dad's a landscaper. Like, not many people make 500 grand a year. You can do it when you're 30, but you can still find yourself getting caught up and down because you haven't hit a specific target that you wanted. So I think just gotta. The one thing that I wish I did more was probably just enjoy the process and just let things play out, because it sort of works out. If you work hard enough and you want it hard enough, it sort of just works out. And so I think I wish I enjoyed it more. I wish I'd changed a few things, but that in particular, I just enjoyed it more, just enjoyed the process. Like even this morning, I came in a little bit late, like I was here at 8 o'clock rather than 7:15. I would used to get down on myself for that sort of stuff, but I trained with my old man, had a coffee, had a swim, and I got here 45 minutes late. It didn't really make any change. Do you know what I mean? So I think just work through it over a long period of time. And, I think if you work hard enough for a long period of time, things just play out and work out.
Don't take it too serious. Enjoy the process. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Have goals. Look after yourself. Keep improving all those areas. Lose a listing, move on. Build your database is what I've taken away. You're in it for the long game. There were plenty of years you know what you were doing, but you kept working at it. You're now really interested in your team and in growing them. That's really good, mate. I think we're going to let you get on with your day. We know how important and valuable your day is. Mate, thanks for coming on, mate. You're a legend. You would know half these guys and the other
Thanks,
half.
Ivan.
Keep up the great work, mate. Look forward to seeing you do 100 deals and make $5 million.
Thank you, mate. Thanks, Ivan.
Thanks,
Mate.
Lawsy.
See you guys.
Good. Okay, that's awesome, guys.